The name Tyreek Hill has often carried both brilliance and controversy. Known for his explosive speed and game-changing ability on the football field, Hill has also faced intense scrutiny off it. For years, public opinion has been shaped not only by his performances in the NFL, but by stories surrounding his personal life. Central to this narrative is his relationship with Crystal Espinal, the mother of his child. The two have shared a complicated and turbulent history, one marked by public disputes, legal investigations, and moments of uncertainty. When recordings of their conversations surfaced, particularly the one from Dubai, the spotlight intensified. Fans, critics, and analysts demanded answers. The truth, however, is rarely as simple as headlines suggest. The Dubai conversation became more than a private exchange. It was seen as a window into the dynamics of their relationship, offering context to allegations and claims that had long surrounded Hill. In this chapter of his life, innocence, guilt, and perception collided, creating one of the most polarizing moments of his career. The connection between Tyreek Hill and Crystal Espinal was complicated from the beginning. Their relationship began with intensity and promise, but over time it became marked by turbulence. Public reports highlighted conflicts that extended far beyond normal disagreements, leading to allegations that would ultimately shape Hill's reputation. For fans of the Kansas City Chiefs, this off-field drama created unease. Could one of the league's brightest stars carry the weight of such accusations? For Hill himself, the personal challenges were deeply tied to his professional future. Every action, every word, every incident became subject to judgment. Espinal, as the mother of his child, was intertwined in both his personal and public life. Their dynamic went beyond two individuals. It involved family, responsibility, and the well-being of their son. This pressure magnified when conversations between the two became public. Suddenly, private words spoken in Dubai carried global consequences, analyzed by media outlets, dissected by fans, and used to question whether Hill's career should continue uninterrupted. The relationship itself became inseparable from his public image. In 2019, Tyreek Hill faced one of the most difficult moments of his career. Allegations surfaced concerning the safety and well-being of his young child. At the center of the controversy was Crystal Espinal, who raised concerns that captured national attention. The NFL and law enforcement were immediately thrust into the situation, with both seeking clarity on what had transpired. For Hill, these allegations were not only a personal crisis but a direct threat to his career. The league, sensitive to issues of domestic disputes and child welfare, carried the power to suspend or even remove him from the game. As details emerged, the court of public opinion formed quickly, with many rushing to judgment. The stakes were enormous. Reputations, family trust, and the future of an NFL superstar all hung in the balance. Then came the recording from Dubai, a piece of evidence that both fueled and complicated the narrative. It became a focal point in understanding what had happened and what it meant for Hill's innocence or guilt. When the Dubai conversation between Tyreek Hill and Crystal Espinal was made public, it immediately dominated headlines. The recording provided a rare, unfiltered exchange between the two, revealing tensions that had long been speculated but rarely confirmed. Every word was replayed across media platforms, each sentence dissected by analysts searching for meaning. For some, the conversation supported suspicions that Hill had acted aggressively in the past. For others, it raised questions about Espinal's role and motivations. The complexity of the dialogue meant that interpretation was anything but straightforward. Instead of resolving debates, the recording deepened them. Fans wanted answers, critics demanded accountability, and supporters insisted on fairness. What was clear, however, was that this was no ordinary disagreement. It was a conversation that carried legal, personal, and professional weight. For Hill, the recording was both a challenge and an opportunity. A challenge because it exposed his private life, and an opportunity because it could provide context and clarity to accusations that threatened to derail everything he had built. The release of the Dubai conversation ignited a storm across the sports world. News outlets replayed the recording endlessly, often framing it with their own interpretations. Headlines painted Hill as either a villain or a misunderstood figure, with little room for nuance. Social media amplified the division. Hashtags calling for punishment clashed with those urging patience and fairness. Public perception became fractured, and every detail of Hill's past was re-examined. For the Chiefs organization, the controversy presented a public relations nightmare. Should they stand by their star receiver or distance themselves to protect the franchise's reputation? For fans, the situation was emotionally complex. Many admired Hill's on-field talent, but wrestled with how to reconcile that admiration with the troubling allegations. The narrative was no longer just about football. It was about morality, accountability, and trust. The Dubai recording forced people to confront uncomfortable questions, not only about Tyreek Hill and Crystal Espinal, but about how society views personal conduct in the lives of public figures. As the Dubai recording spread, authorities and the NFL intensified their scrutiny. Law enforcement reviewed the conversation, seeking evidence that could substantiate or dismiss allegations. Meanwhile, the NFL faced its own dilemma. The league had long been criticized for inconsistent handling of off-field conduct, and Tyreek Hill's case placed them under a microscope once again. Investigators interviewed Hill, Espinal, and others connected to the case. They examined not only the recording, but also prior incidents in the couple's history. The stakes were clear. A suspension or even permanent removal was possible if wrongdoing was proven. Yet the complexity of the case left no easy answers. Without conclusive evidence, prosecutors hesitated, and the NFL delayed decisions. The situation highlighted a broader issue within professional sports: how to balance fairness with accountability when the evidence is disputed. For Hill, the waiting game was agonizing. His career, his reputation, and his family's stability all depended on the outcome of investigations triggered by a private conversation that had become a public spectacle. Crystal Espinal's role in the Dubai conversation was as significant as Tyreek Hill's. As the mother of his child, her voice carried weight, both legally and emotionally. In the recording, she expressed fears and frustrations that resonated with many listeners. Some saw her words as a plea for protection and acknowledgement, while others interpreted them as an attempt to gain leverage in a strained relationship. Espinal had endured years of scrutiny, often portrayed as either a victim or an antagonist depending on the perspective of the media. Her perspective, however, was shaped by personal experiences and her responsibility as a parent. The recording revealed not only conflict but also the complicated emotions of two individuals bound together by family. Her role in the situation was critical to how the public and authorities interpreted the allegations. Whether seen as a truth-teller or as someone with motives beyond the surface, Espinal's voice was central in shaping the debate around innocence, accountability, and the search for clarity. For Tyreek Hill, defending himself against the weight of allegations and the interpretation of the Dubai recording was vital. His legal team and representatives emphasized that the conversation, while emotional, did not prove wrongdoing. Hill maintained his innocence, pointing to inconsistencies in the narrative and reminding critics of the lack of formal charges. For him, the issue was not only about protecting his career, but about securing his role as a father and preserving his personal reputation. His supporters argued that the public was too quick to judge, often overlooking context in favor of sensational headlines. Hill, known for his resilience on the field, found himself fighting a different kind of battle off it, one where perception carried as much weight as evidence. His defense was built on patience, trust in the legal process, and a firm denial of the worst accusations. Whether or not the public believed him, Hill understood that his future depended on maintaining his composure and presenting his truth clearly. After months of uncertainty, the NFL announced its decision regarding Tyreek Hill. Following a thorough review of the Dubai conversation, as well as additional investigations, the league determined there was insufficient evidence to impose a suspension. The ruling was met with mixed reactions. Supporters of Hill celebrated, seeing it as validation of his innocence and a chance for him to move forward without further punishment. Critics, however, argued that the league had once again failed to take a strong stance on issues involving personal conduct. For Hill, the decision was both a relief and a turning point. His career, which had hung in limbo, could now continue without immediate interruption. Yet the shadow of controversy remained. Public opinion did not shift as easily as official rulings. The NFL's choice allowed Hill to return to the field, but questions lingered. The Dubai conversation, while no longer a legal barrier, continued to shape how many viewed him as both an athlete and a man. The saga of Tyreek Hill and the Dubai conversation with Crystal Espinal left a lasting impact that extended beyond the NFL. It forced fans, analysts, and the public to confront difficult questions about personal conduct, accountability, and the role of evidence in shaping perception. For Hill, the outcome preserved his career, but forever tied his name to controversy. For Espinal, the recording immortalized her voice and her perspective, ensuring that her role in the story would not be forgotten. Together, their conversation became a case study in how private matters can explode into the public sphere, reshaping reputations and careers. The narrative is not one of simple innocence or guilt, but of complexity, nuance, and competing interpretations. The Dubai recording may have faded from headlines, but its impact continues to echo. For Hill, every touchdown and every highlight now carries the shadow of past controversy. For fans and critics alike, the question of innocence remains a reminder of how fragile reputations can be.